All right, welcome back everybody. This week we're gonna go after No Quarter from Led Zeppelin's 1973-74 Houses of the Holy album. And we're gonna tackle the sort of the rhythm chords that are going on. There's a great orchestration of guitar throughout this whole song, very different tones, and it just culminates in this great guitar solo in the middle, where we'll spend most of our time today. But if you haven't done so already and you like what you're seeing, please go down and subscribe and ring the bell. It lets you know every single time I drop new content, which I do every single week. And let me know in the comments what you think about this. And also, if there's a song you'd like me to do a lesson on, just drop it in the comments, because I do that. Okay, so No Quarter. Man, there's so much to say about this song. First of all, on the record, on the Houses of the Holy album, the song is in C sharp, D flat minor. But this is one of those songs that they recorded, and then they recorded in a higher key and they slowed it down. So what we hear on the album is the tape slowed down, and I think it's most, if not all, the instruments and Robert's voice as well. But they recorded it in D. And the giveaways for that are when you listen to when Bonham hits the crash cymbal, you can hear the long, super long decay on the cymbal. And that's one of the giveaways when you're listening to a song that has very speed, you know, where you slow that down. Zeppelin did it on a couple songs. Beatles did it. Lots of folks sort of in that era experimented with that. And so this is one. So we're going to play it. I'm going to teach it like it is on the Houses of the Holy album. The other giveaway that it's in a different key normally is when they play it live, they play it up in D minor because they're all used to playing it. That's how they played it. That's how they record it. But yeah, on the record, it's half a step down. So I'm going to show you from that standpoint. Okay. So first of all, the main chords, most of the sort of rhythm and the padding that's happening throughout is keyboard, and the great work that John Paul Jones did, right? So he's vamping around variations of that C sharp minor, or minor seventh chord. Sort of variations on that. So there's no real sort of guitar going on there. The first place where you hear a guitar is this great, I don't even know what chord it is. Someone will tell me in the comments. But it's a very dissonant sounding, it's like an A with a flat 5 in it. But it's this. Or if you drag it all the way to the first string. But here's how you finger that chord. It's just like a regular A chord. I bar it over with my index finger, and I'm just adding 2 frets up on the second string. That note there. So a regular A would be. So what you're doing is you're carving off that half step on that, lowering that fifth. Right? And on the record, you sort of hear it stop there. Live, you hear him go all the way, even though he's half step higher. He's up there on Song Remains the Same. But I digress. So that's the first chord. I'm going to call it an A flat 5, and then you're going to slide up to a D flat 5. So exactly the same formation. And I grab that, leave that open A, where you can drag it all the way across. Very clean, you know, in terms of your tone. So those are the first 2 chords. They carry news that must get through. All right, so that's it for sort of the intro on the clean guitar. So clean setting. I have it in the middle position, but you know, dial it how you like. But it's the important part is that that guitar right there is clean. Now let's talk about the great fuzz section that comes in next. All right, the next important part on this song is the great sort of fuzz sound that Jimmy dials up during the chorus. And fuzz is the sound. It's not distortion. It's not overdrive. There's fuzz on there. If you have access to a fuzz pedal, just dial that to the setting that you like. You don't want to over fuzz it. It's not way up there. I have my sort of strength on the fuzz a little bit low. But on the bridge pickup, and it goes like this. All right, so notice what it is not is they do that live, and I think John Paul Jones probably plays that bass line on the record, but Jimmy's not. I always thought he did, but if you listen to the sort of isolated tracks, and I'll link those here, he doesn't. He goes, which is something I learned new. And so his touch on there is he wants to, it's just root fifth, it's bar chord or power chord. You're seeing how that is over my shoulder here. And you want to let those notes overlap a little bit, but you don't want it to get too muddy, So, I usually pick up, I sort of pick up that index finger just so they're not rubbing together the whole time. But he's pretty clearly coming up with the one note and then he adds the second note. It's not, right? It's, and the last one, you bend up. Which is really, it's just hard. It's easier, and it also explains the whole, that they recorded it a step up. Not that he couldn't do that, I'm sure he could from the 2nd fret, but it's a lot easier to do it up here. I overbent it, but because you can get all 3 fingers lined up here. But we play it down here. I am really good at coming just under pitch, but that's what it is. It's you just grab both of those. For me, it's my ring finger and my middle finger on the 1st and 2nd fret just to get the power, and then you bend up to that note. All right. Well, that's sort of all that goes on in terms of rhythm guitar in that whole song. So now let's go to that great guitar solo and talk about what's going on there. I love the way this one sounds. It's evil. It's got the EEEEEVVIIIL quality to it, like the fru-its of the Dev-iilll.
Really evil, so evil that you would say it was evil, like it's the fru-its of the Dev-iilll, evil.
So in terms of tone, let's talk about the clean solo first. So the clean solo I have on the neck pickup, Les Paul, to my ear, I think there's a little bit of lightly mixed in slow chorus, not chorus, but Leslie or vibraton or one of those, but it's not super strong, but I feel like it's in there a little bit. So I have mine, which I think is over affecting it, but I think it gets the point across. But let's talk about the parts. So I don't know what the name of this scale is, okay? But I'll describe the main parts of this scale, all right? So if you think about a minor chord with that shape, and you think of the sort of minor pentatonic notes scale that comes off of that. So what he's doing is he's adding these notes that, I mean, you could play them up here, but in my head, I think about them as behind the bar. So he's adding notes that are behind the bar, and it creates a little bit of a different sort of variation to the, you know, the box that you solo in, right? So what he's adding on there is on the D string, he's adding this note. So if this is the root, you know, these two notes are in the normal minor pentatonic, but he's adding the one, the one fret down from like the seventh of that, right? And then he does the same thing on the G string. And then at one point he adds so really what he's doing for most of it is playing around the minor pentatonic on that scale. But he's adding these notes. Right? So you hear these. That's all that is. It's just that little flutter, adding those 2 or 3 notes right behind the bar. Okay, so let's talk about the opening. Now the opening comes with a little run that's based purely on minor pentatonic. Something like that. Right? I think he's playing it up in that position. You could also play it down here. Or it's hard to say which way he's going, but you hear the really woody quality of his Les Paul in that, and I just can't tell if he's doing it off of a unwound G string or the wound D string. But I stay up here because that's sort of where everything is happening up here, and I'm just trying to minimize the hand position. So the intro. And then there's a fuzz that does a response. I'll come to that later. And then there's this little bit. So that's those notes that we're adding onto that minor scale, right? We've just added or built those little licks around there. Okay. Now you do what's sort of a very well-known sort of blues climb, because that's just off of your minor pentatonic, adding that note in there. All right. I'm just going to move through this slowly. So feel free to use the YouTube controls on the speed. Right down there, you can use that little settings wheel and click into that. And if you need to move this down, you know, slow the speed down to get each one of these, go right ahead. So moving to the next part. Okay, so what's happening there? I can't describe, I don't know the theory to know exactly what sort of version of the, if that's a Dorian thing, or I don't know exactly what it is, but in my head, the way I think about it is I think about a, you know, that minor seventh mini bar chord like a B minor 7. That shape, right? It's not a B minor 7, but I'm sort of, you know, if you know how to solo off of that scale, it's the same thing. You're just doing it up here. It sort of starts to put you back into the minor pentatonic of the C sharp, where your root is. But he does that great little climb that gets you up there, and it's just a beautiful little dynamic. Anyway, let's get back there. So there's that sort of position. So he does that twice, that, and then he ends that part by, and then he starts this run where he's going to sort of work his way back down across the C minor 7 pentatonic space. You get quickly back there, but you're throwing in all those other extra notes that we talked about behind the bar, right? So I don't know if I've got it actually note perfect all the way through, but I've got, I think, all the critical sort of places and spots where you want to hear it hit little parts to make it sound like the record, okay? So let me run through that as a practice for myself. Okay. So that run, I came up here twice, and then you build off of that. It's a variation of that. Now you're back in your minor pentatonic box. I might have one or two of those wrong, but that's sort of the position that you're in and where you get back to home. And then you do this climb. This is just fabulous. He emphasizes that when he hits that hard. It's great. It does a little sputter after it. And then you just sort of wiggle around on that minor 7, that, like we talked about earlier, where you're adding those notes that are behind the chord, okay? I'm going to try and do this slowly, and we'll see what happens. Okay, that's close. I don't think it's quite note perfect, but it's very, very close. So after you're landing on that root, very faintly, he's just climbing back down to the low root. Very smooth, right? Sort of jazzy, quasi-jazzy. And then here's where we get into what's going to be the last part of the clean guitar, but you're going to start harmonizing with the fuzz, right? So after you've climbed down to this, now you climb up. And from that point on, it's the fuzz. Right? So one more time on that. Once you get down to the low, you're just climbing back up the ladder of the sort of minor scale. Whoops. And then 3 times peel off. All right, so that's that part. I just love that the harmony that creates with the fuzz, because the fuzz is up there when you're there, so it's just beautiful. Okay, so let me try that. Let me see if I can do it slowly all the way through. All right. All right, so that's the clean guitar. Didn't quite nail that, but we're close. Okay, let's talk about the fuzz. Okay, so the fuzz tone. So the fuzz tone comes in as sort of a call and response. As you remember, we've gone through the clean guitar part. So when the clean guitar does now the fuzz does a response. Sorry. And just holds it. So that's just off of a normal but I think he slides it up. Okay, so then the next part where there's the call and response, the clean guitar does the right, and right there, the fuzz comes right in with an echo and then a flourish on top of that. So it's just doing those same, we're adding those same notes behind the bar of the minor. And you're just playing on that from the D string, landing on the A string, and then you're going to jump over on a similar lick, but it's a flourish on the G string. So that's that call and response, so that ends. Now the clean guitar goes on its little run. And then we marry up with it now with the harmony part, right? So when the clean is doing right, when he does that part, the fuzz tone is and then from that point on, it's all fuzz. So the rest of this lick, as I'm talking through it, the whole thing is second and third string with one little part where he grabs the first string. But you're basically going to live up and down on the and a little bit up here on the second and third string for this part. Okay, so taking that fuzz part all the way through from where it comes in, let's just do that one time through for demonstration. Okay, so what's going on there? So we know the harmony part that intros it. And you're peeling off 3 times, because that's going along with this. Woo, that's evil sounding. And feel free to use that liberal vibrato whenever you can on this. Okay, that was a lot. So, climbing up on the B string. Now from here all the way out, it's all G string. Bend down to get the wicked bend. If you bend up, you might get it, but every time I'm doing that, I'm hitting the other strings and getting a tone, so it sounds better for me when I'm pulling down. And that's how you get out of it. That last little lick. Again, ending on that minor scale where you're just adding on that note. Wow, that is EEEEEVVIIIL.
Like it's the fru-its of the Dev-iilll. EEEEEEVVIIIL.
All right, well that's no quarter in terms of guitar, or the main guitar parts there. That's just fantastic tune. I love those little parts. I'll do another lesson for the whole live Song Remains the Same version, which is very different. He weaves little parts of what's on the record into the much longer solo that he does. And he's also playing it in D, D minor, higher key. But all right, so if you like what you saw, love if you go down and subscribe, ring the bell. It lets you know every time I drop new content. And let me know in the comments what you thought of this. If you learned something new, I hope you did. And let me know what song you'd like me to try maybe next week. So I look at those comments, I answer them all, and love to hear what you'd like me to take on. And until then, take care, everybody.